Well, hello, I'm 𝐂𝐤𝐳𝐲. Welcome back. This video is going to cover the last 9 months and 40 hours I put on my mini skid steer. This is a Chinese mini skid steer, and a lot of people contemplate if they're worth buying or not. In this video, I'll go over all the projects and jobs I've done with it, tell you what issues I've had with it, and what I like and dislike about the machine, and whether they're really worth buying or not. So, hope you enjoy the video. So we're going to cover gravel first. Now, in the last 9 months, 40 hours, I've hauled over 100,000 pounds of gravel with this mini skid steer, and it's done it really well. That's over 38 yards of gravel, and there's going to be a lot more gravel hauling here pretty soon just because I bought a new-to-me hydraulic dump trailer, and I can move almost 3 yards per load with that trailer. So it's worked really well. This thing has saved my back completely from moving this stuff. And every bucket load is about 25 to 30 shovel loads of gravel. So when you pull into a gravel pile and you can scoop up a load of gravel in about 2 to 3 seconds with that bucket and move that around, it saves your back. And also a lot of back grading you can do once you put down the gravel on a path or a parking area. You can come back through and back grade it. It saves you a lot of raking and issues like that. It's been an awesome machine for this. So rain or shine, this thing's been pretty solid. Here I was working after work. I had about 3 yards of gravel to spread through some mud here, and it gets dark early. When I get home, it's almost dark all the time. It's pouring down rain. Clicked on the headlight. It worked great for spreading that gravel. And right here I'm moving 10 yards of gravel. This is all 1.25 inches minus. Did it all in about 1.25 hours. The machine did great doing this. There's a little video you can click on. I'll put a link below to that. Did really well. It only used about 3/4 gallon of gas. I think it would take a whole crew of people to move that much gravel in 1.25 hours with some shovel and wheelbarrows. Did pretty good. So if you're traveling over this bigger stuff and grading, you're going to get caught up in your tracks. I tend to run my tracks fairly loose. I've had very little problem with them. And if you get this bigger chunks of gravel caught in there, it's less tendency to blow out a tracking wheel or bust your track or anything like that. So I definitely recommend running the tracks a little on the looser side. Earlier I mentioned the bucket holds about 25 to 30 shovel loads, and man, it saves you a lot of time if you don't have to be shoveling like that. And could you imagine using a wheelbarrow and pushing up steep hills with this thing? I've done that work trying to get wheelbarrows up stuff like that. It sucks. And so I can really appreciate how useful this machine is because I've done it manually by hand way too many years of my life. So time to start saving my back and using this machine. Well, I finally did it. I finally saved up some cash and bought something new to me, used, but I got a hydraulic dump trailer finally. I wanted one of these for about 5 years. It's a 6x10. Seems to fit really well with my machine, so I can move a lot more gravel now for projects, and I can also move both my machines around fairly easy, so I'm pretty happy about that. This project here at grading my driveway, I want to mention this. I put my GPS in my pocket, worked for about 1.25 hours, and moved about 6 yards of gravel and did a bunch of back blading and a bunch of grading on my driveway here, and I traveled about a mile in 1.25 hours. So with me having about 40 hours on my machine, I probably have about 30 miles on these tracks. Now, I think the tracks are going to hold up for quite a long time. They seem to be looking just fine, but gives you kind of an idea that probably in about an hour, every 1.25 hours, you're probably putting about a mile of travel on your machine. So imagine, next time you drive in your car, imagine driving 30 miles with one of these skid steers, mainly with full loaded buckets, a lot of weight on them. So it gives you an idea just how much those drive wheels and those idler wheels are spinning around on these machines. Now, I haven't had any problems with my idler wheels, knock on wood, but I do actually have an upgrade coming here pretty soon. I haven't blown them out yet, but I found a source on eBay. I'll put a link below. It's actually another person in Washington that seems to be selling a bunch of parts for mini excavators and skid steers. So hopefully they can keep carrying those components. I'll put a link below in the description to their eBay store. But I ordered some double wheels, idler wheels in the back of this thing, which I think will be an upgrade. I have to say, these single cylinder 420 engines do go through a fair amount of fuel. Not crazy amounts, but they're kind of loud, and they go through a lot more fuel than that R13 mini excavator I have. That diesel just sips fuel. It's insane how long the fuel lasts in that tiny tank. But for the 3/4 of a gallon of fuel I went through, I've gotten a lot of work done. It's crazy how many tons worth of gravel you can haul with this machine in less than a gallon of fuel. And look at this, is ridiculous. I don't even have gloves on, not working that hard, just running the controls. Usually all this stuff, it's gloves, shovel, rake, wheelbarrow for me in the past, and not breaking a sweat. Maybe I'm gonna get fat though. I gotta watch that one. So it's really hard to average out how much dirt I really move with this thing. So I sat down and tried to figure it out one day. I've moved well over 24 yards, so that's over 24,000 pounds of dirt with this machine. Probably a lot more than that, but those were kind of my rough estimates. And it really wasn't the nicest conditions. Some of the stuff was really mucky and gnarly out. The tracks were just pulling that grime and grit into them. And usually when I get done doing that kind of work, I try to hose them off so they're just not sitting for a while with all that mud in them. But machine does pretty good. It's not going to cut dirt as good as like maybe a mini excavator does, but for simple grading, it does really well. And if it's the only machine you have, you're going to do quite a bit with it. Here I'm widening out a little parking space, and I didn't have my mini excavator. I was just having my mini skid steer here, and gonna make do with it. It's gonna be a lot better than a pickaxe and shovel and wheelbarrow, and you can get quite a bit of stuff done in a short amount of time. And the bucket's pretty dang good for back grading as well. Saves you a ton of rake work. I almost never have to do rake work with this machine. So yep, just widen out this parking spot. Keep in mind when you're spinning the tracks in a bunch of bigger gravel, like this is 1.25 inch gravel, you're gonna hear it popping and binding the tracks a little bit. Biggest thing, if you hear a weird pop or it binds a little bit, I always take a point to look down, figure out what track's going on, issue, and slowly back up, clear the gravel out of them. If you're mindful about it, I think you're gonna have a lot less problems. And again, like I said, I run my tracks pretty loose on this machine, and I will go over track issues with it later in the video, but so far it's been pretty well. So here I'm just back grading a bunch of dirt into a waterline ditch that I dug with my mini excavator. None of this kind of stuff was calculating that 24,000 pounds of dirt moved. Mainly it was stuff that I actually scooped and traveled with my bucket with dirt. This is just back grading. I mean, I've done countless probably yards of dirt that I've graded in like this with this machine. But anyways, this is stuff that would take you an hour or so back grading and raking to clear it out, and this does it in a matter of minutes. It's not fun to move this stuff by hand. I have messed up my back when I was younger, and I've had it fuse. I have a bad back, and this thing saves me a ton of work, saves my back. I'd rather keep my back good for things like hiking and riding motorcycles and things like that. So let this machine do all the heavy lifting. And yeah, you're probably not going to get the amount of hours you are going to get out of like a Toro Dingo or a Yanmar or what other variety of name brand units. But you know what, I paid a fraction for the cost for one of these things rather than name brand one. I've seen too many clapped out name brand machines with high hours and broken undercarriages and stuff. I don't want to deal with someone else's problems, so that's why I bought this thing new, and it works pretty good for my application. Yeah, I'm probably not going to get 3,000 hours on it, but if you see at the end of this video, keep in mind I put 40 hours on this machine so far, and this is just it's hard to capture 40 hours worth of work. A lot of times I don't even bother turning on the camera because I don't want to. I want to get the job done, but this is a mucky, gnarly soil I'm clearing out for a parking spot here with some ivy mixed in it and some wood chips, and yeah. It would suck doing all this by hand, trying to dig through that ivy with a shovel and wheelbarrow. And if you see that machine in the background, wonder what that is. That's my articulating dump truck. I'll put a link below to the whole build series. I think I have a 12-part. Built that thing from the ground up using super running gear. And there'll be a link below to that build series. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's kind of a nice one to watch in the evenings. But it's 4x4. It articulates in the center there, and it can haul quite a bit. So here I'm just cleaning up the last little bit of this parking spot, working on some ditching after this to work on some drainage issues. Gonna bring in a bunch of gravel in here later with the articulating dump truck and mini skid steer. But yeah, the thing does really well. So most of the dirt I dug out of here, I took down to this front yard area to fill in a a hillside, just kind of bring a little bit more yard out here that's level. And again, I moved probably 3 or 4 yards with that dump truck, maybe 5 yards, and used the skid steer in like 10 minutes, level that area off, and back graded it with the blade, and now it's ready to start planting grass on it. So something like that, even raking that out and shoveling out flat, it's going to take you an hour or more. This was done like 10 minutes. I don't know how else to put it in words, but it just saves your back a lot of work if you're actually out doing this stuff. If you live in an apartment, this is probably not the most useful machine for you, but if you have property and you've done the stuff by hand for a long time, I'm just kind of sharing my experience with the machine, Now we're on to moving rock. I haven't moved as much rock. I don't have as much of my property, but I've gotten loads of rock dumped off before and hauled some around. And you know what? It's a driving wheelbarrow in this application. It saves my back. Most of the stuff I have around here is on hills, so if I don't have to push a wheelbarrow up and down a hill, or even using a quad in a trailer, it still beats the hell out of it for me. Here I'm bringing a bunch of rock in by a little creek and kind of landscaping around it and just putting it along the edges. And yeah, it saves my back. Here I'm moving a bunch of cinder block, just picking it up. I had some stuff around here and just kind of organizing it, and a full bucket load and then some, and the machine has no problem. I don't even have counterweights on here yet. People talk about cutting counterweights. At some point I'll probably put them on there. So how do they do plowing snow? Well, I think it actually worked better than my 4x4 tractor. Traveled a lot slower, but the maneuverability in tight spaces was pretty good. Plowed really well up and downhill. I think with the actual legit plow blade, rather than just pushing snow with the bucket, it would do a lot better. But if that's all you got, it's going to beat the hell out of a snow shovel. Like I said, I got a 4x4 tractor. I do like the travel speed of the 4x4 tractors a lot better. But in this application, I definitely am going to build a plow blade for it and use it next winter. Now, here's where this thing really shines, these random hauling jobs. Here I had power outage going and hauled up 2 generators I had from outbuilding. Thing worked awesome. Saved my back, saved me from walking up and down the hill multiple times, moving boats and trailers around. This thing works really, really well. I'm on a steep hill and it still moves these trailers really well. Those hydraulic drive motors work really good and they're powerful. Forks, moving, that was a log splitter I got in the mail and moving into my shop. Here, hauling a bunch of junk metal for recycling and got to load it in the back of my Ford. I mean, there's a table saw, old heavy Craftsman with 2 semi-truck brake drums there. This thing moved it really well, and the trail I was bringing this down from was so gnarly and mucky. This thing did great. Now, those old Troy-Bilt rototills are pretty solid. I brought that in and gave it to my friend, so that did not get recycled. He took it home. Old plow I fabricated up with a buddy a long time ago for my tractor. It just didn't work very well for that application out the bucket. Old quad engine. Here I got the forks on here, moving some 12-foot long cedar 2x6s that I had milled. You milled them at my buddy's place, but that thing's awesome. That's about all you want to put on that with the forks. With that weight, if you're not on it, you need a counterbalance for anything more, but forks work good. The quick hitch is really awesome. I got a grapple I built. I got a video I can link below to that. And your most useful attachment is going to be by far the bucket. Right here I'm cutting a bunch of firewood, hauling this in the bucket. It doesn't have the biggest capacity for that, but it's still better than pushing around with the wheelbarrow. And I have a little log splitter I was using here. I did a little demo on that on my secondary channel. Worked good, pretty value-packed log splitter, but I modified it and made the second best attachment I've ever built, and that's this hydraulic log splitter. Runs off the hydraulics, the auxiliary hydraulics on here. Works really well. Here's that grapple I built from scratch. Got a video on that as well. I got a lot of videos on my channel, so if this is your first time coming to my channel, I definitely recommend going through. There's got maybe 150, 200 videos, and been fabricating, doing stuff for years. I'm probably going to taper away from the fabrication videos because even though I got 280,000 subscribers, I think about 10,000 or so watch my fabrication videos now. Just not in it for me to spend that much time editing, making the videos if no one's going to watch them. But back to the random hauling jobs here. I'm just hauling a bunch of old rotted out logs up this trail. Load after load of this kind of stuff. As much as you can stack on there, the thing will haul it no problem. And just cleaning up your property. If you have some property and You got one machine, you got to kind of decide if you want to get a mini excavator or mini skid steer. People have asked me which machine is better. It comes down to your application. Here I'm moving a bunch of fresh wood chips. You have a chipper and shredder for my tractor. Chipped a bunch of these up, spread them around, and it's a good machine to move a lot of material. Say if you got a lot of material to move around, dirt, gravel, wood chips, skid steer is going to be really good for that. If you have a lot of digging and trenching jobs, a mini excavator. But honestly, they all work pretty well, and they work really well together. Here, I don't recommend this, but I lifted the bucket up about 3 feet, and I was pruning my fruit trees in the fall, and I think it's safer than working off a ladder, in my opinion. So don't recommend it, but for me, I'll use this for pruning my semi-dwarf fruit trees anytime. So now we're going to go over problems, because I'm sure some of you want to know what's going on with this thing. The last 40 hours, 9 months, I popped the tracks off 2.5 times, I'd say. This time here, I just backed off the tensioner, was able to reverse the track back with a little pry bar and get it rolled back on there. But I popped them completely off 2 different times, one time in total deep mud, and you need a few tools to do it. These idler wheels can be an issue. I got an upgrade, I believe. That's going to be good. Here's the tensioner to adjust the tracks. I run my tracks pretty loose, so I haven't had too many issues. If you ever drop a track, you can reverse it back. But you can see these things are always rolling in the muck and dirt and just deep down grit all over them. So the tracks, I think, have held up pretty well, especially like I don't hear many people talk about. I talk about in every skid steer video. I run mine pretty loose. And if they start to pop off, you can hear it or it binds, and you can just reverse it back out of the position you were at. And a lot of times the track will roll on easily. So I've had tracks try to come off a few more times than that, but honestly, I've only had to actually get all the tools out 2-3 times to get the tracks back on. Again, wash all the stuff off you've been in the deep mud, because that's an issue. And also those drive motors can be an issue too, with seals blowing out. Knock on wood, I've never had that happen, but I think it's from dirt and mud getting in there. So this is a little gripe, and I think I can remedy it pretty well, but I always get rocks and mud and dirt packed in here so bad that you kind of limits how much you can roll the bucket back. Here I need to cut out with a plasma torch, give a little relief so the dirt can fall all the way through, rather than getting bound in there. But honestly, if I designed it, I would design this a little different, because gravel gets jammed in here. You gotta clean it out quite often. So one of my biggest gripes about this machine in particular is this one never came with a hydraulic oil cooler. So I bought one on eBay, have a video of how I plumbed one into the system. Only reason I really wouldn't recommend this exact machine is the company shouldn't have cut a corner and left it with the consumer without an oil cooler. That kind of pissed me off. So I put one on it, and since then it's been perfectly fine. So the final thing at around 38 hours is I got water in the keyed ignition over time. We've been holding on a trailer quite a few hundred miles in the rain and just working out in the rain. So I bought a $15 key switch from Amazon that had a better design. The stock one, water could fall into. This one had a cap key, so it covers the whole ignition. Repinned the plug-in, and it worked fine for about 15 bucks. So that's that. Now comes down, do I regret buying it? Not at all. This machine did so much work for me in the last 9 months. It fits in the back of my truck. I can easily transport it. It's only about 1,600 pounds. It's got a decent capacity. The bucket's wider than the tracks, which is nice. You can move a lot of dirt. My only complaint about it is it's fairly slow. When you're moving around, it probably moves about 1 mile an hour, 1.5 miles an hour. And I got a lot of property travel up and down steep hills, and I find myself feeling like it constantly, like it's just moving at a snail speed. Is it faster than me pushing a wheelbarrow up a steep hill? Yeah, for sure. But would I like a machine that travels a little faster? Yes, definitely. So the compact size, I like the size of the skid steer. I'm going to probably jump up to a diesel one in the future. Diesel is nice and quiet, but adds complexity. This machine is so basic when you pop the hood on it. There's not much to it, so it's easy to maintain. I like that it's compact, fits in the back of my truck. So it's kind of a trade-off. You buy a bigger machine, more power, can travel faster, bigger bucket capacity. It's not always the best in tight spaces. This machine, I do like the size of it. So, you know, if you're going to do some research on your machines before you buy one, I definitely recommend it. I think this 420cc single-cylinder engine has plenty of power to do the jobs I need to do with this machine. So if I do sell this machine off to buy a diesel one in the future, I'm sure I'm going to regret the compact size of this one. It's kind of one of those things. Sometimes you move up in the size of a machine, something bigger, more powerful. Sometimes you like the small machine, at least I do for tight spaces around my place here. But you know what? I'd highly recommend getting a little mini skid steer, do your research, find out which ones are less problematic, and go from there. And these things are very basic. An engine, hydraulic pump, some hydraulics, and some drive motors and some tracks. They're not too complex. The more complex you jump up to more bigger machines with more features and things, the harder they are to repair when they do break. So that's something to be said. I definitely recommend buying one of these machines. Maybe not this exact make and model. This is my experience. It's worked great. But there's a lot of companies manufacturing these things out there. So hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, it was hard to put together 40 hours worth of work in a video. It's hard to get that camera out for all this. So if you enjoyed the video, found it useful, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. Go down the description and check out some of my other videos. I got a bunch of information on these machines and mini excavators. So, all right, till next time, take care. Bye.